Echo Night is a first-person survival horror adventure game that is part of a series that started originally on the PlayStation in 1998 that would be developed by From Software, a well-known developer that is responsible for some of the most intriguing and yet most difficult games ever in existence, as this developer is also responsible for the iconic Kingsfield series that started way back, even from the early weeks and the launch period of the PlayStation itself, and would later go on to create icons in the industry, anything from Bloodborne to Elden Ring, Demon Souls, Dark Souls and other similar titles. There would be an initial sequel with Echo Night 2, The Lord of Nightmares, that would also release for the PlayStation in Japan in 1999, and the final entry in the series would land on the PlayStation 2 with Echo Night Beyond in 2004, which would be the final entry, and we have yet to see if there will be any other sequels or rebrandings of the game, but as of yet no news has come to light. The development of Echo Night originally began as an experimental idea based on using the same graphics engine that was seen and used for Kingsfield 3, but expanded into its own idea and entity, which ended up becoming a very popular series overall. It's one that's often mentioned and regarded itself, to a point that many people online, with regard to watching these videos, a lot of people would always ask for content around this series of games, so it's a lot more popular than you might have thought. The gameplay plays from a first person perspective, where you are pretty much like an investigator and you are trying to find out the occurrences of certain events that happened, but you end up finding yourself being given abilities in order to interact with different artifacts that can also give you the option to talk to spirits or ghosts that will take you across many different locations, even into the worlds of some of the ghosts themselves, so you can gain an idea of the type of narrative that they're living, that they're reliving a lot of their story. So your goal is literally to help them to lay their spirit to rest, so you will have to find items of interest and you'll have to help them with their story and allow them to pass on. Now, to say it won't be easy, because there's different forms of spirits that roam around the place. Some are friendly spirits that just need help to pass on, while there's other negative spirits that are out to hurt you. So once they are aware of your surroundings, they will try to attack you at all chances they get. So you will generally find yourself focusing on exploration across many different locations and isolated environments, where you'll have to interact and solve puzzles in order to progress the narrative, as the game is very story focused. But different scenarios and different choices that you make can lead to different outcomes depending on the different situations that you find yourself in. In some cases that can also lead to ghosts becoming hostile if the right choices aren't made. So you always have to be mindful of your surroundings and the choices that you make, pretty much, which is definitely an unusual but yet intriguing mechanic that's different from a lot of other games that's out there. Plus, with it being a horror game, it does have all of those interesting and unique elements. There is a really good sense of atmospheric tension that definitely draws its inspiration from other survival horror games of the past, but at the same time also provides enough intrigue in order to keep you on your toes, as you never quite know what's happening, as everything is so quiet and surreal to a point that things can just happen at random when you don't really expect it, and you go into a room thinking that you're safe, only to be cornered by some sort of negative entity that wants to kill you. So like I said, the game will definitely keep you on your toes. And I suppose because it's developed from the same guys that made Kingsfield, it offers up those aspects in terms of the gameplay, while it is a bit more refined, but it also does combine elements that you would see with horror, more so psychological horror. And this series, especially on the PlayStation, is often considered as one of the best, but also one of the most underrated and overlooked horror games on the console, and doesn't get the attention that it really deserves. But if you like a different style of horror and you like something that requires a lot of puzzle solving, that's even in a first person format, but just approaches the whole concept of horror in a very different way, this is definitely one to try out for sure. It's a very interesting game that definitely deserves a lot more attention, and the fact is that there's multiple narratives in the game. There's a lot of replay value and longevity with the experience, so there's plenty of reasons to go back and play it to experience everything that's there and on offer, so there's no reason not to try it. A very obscure and interesting game, I have to say, but definitely one I consider worth having a look at. And I have played the sequel, which I will cover in another video, and it's also equally as interesting. Even the PS2, they are a very interesting catalogue of games for sure, so make sure to keep an eye out as I will be covering them in future videos. But in the meantime, I would love to know your thoughts of Echo Night, and what do you think of it overall? Do you find this to be a very good series? Would this be one of your favourite horror games on the PlayStation, more to the point? And what do you think of it overall? So be sure to share it down in the comments below. And if you would like to see more content around other unusual and obscure horror games like this that were released on the PlayStation, then you can leave a like on the video, and you can check out this playlist on screen to see a lot more of those games in action that I already have covered on the channel. And as always, keep those gaming memories alive.